Like to.
Father in heaven, we, your servants, praise your holy name and thank you for the blessings you bestow upon us. Lord, thank you for our nation, for our state, for our community. And Lord, there are so many problems facing us now as a nation and as a community. Grant us the wisdom, Lord, to look to you for the solutions. Help us keep in mind that you created this universe, you created us, you created everything. You have the plan. Give us the strength and the wisdom to turn to you for the answers, Lord. Today, I raise up our commissioners. Guide them, Lord, in making prudent decisions. Lord, let all those that come here today be honorable and respectful. Lord, I offer this prayer to you in the name of your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, administrative business, Tina.
Okay, I have the minutes of March 11.
Okay, have time to renew those minutes, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and second, all those in favor say aye.
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 In your packets, you did have the clerk's report and budget reports, department revenue reports, and then we do have change orders.
Short list.
Thank you. When we prepared the budget, you included some allocations out of sales tax for Kansas Legal Services, the Food Bank, FACT, and then Safe Hope. Those are the ones we've been giving to. But I can't find where you ever have made a motion to go ahead and approve those allocations for this year. And I just, before we paid that out, I wanted to make sure that that's what you wanted to do. So Kansas Legal Services requested $4,500. In the prior year, we paid them $4,000. The Marion County Food Bank has requested $6,000 to cover the cost of their utilities for the year, and that's the same amount that we've paid for several years. I'm not sure if FACT came and requested funds, but over the past several years, they've been paid $6,000 a year.
She
And-
just gave a report, I believe.
Yeah. Used to come out of the health department. Deidre used to fund them, and then the last time when we paid them, it came out of sales tax. So I don't know that they had requested anything, or maybe we wait till the request, but we paid them $6,000 last year. And then the other one is Safe Hold, and that's the domestic, it's like the Center for Domestic Violence for Women. And that is, and children, and that, we paid them $2,500 last year. So,
Have they reported to us?
I don't think so.
Not lately, I don't think.
Maybe we should ask them for a report if we're gonna
Okay.
provide any type of funding.
At that
Maybe
time,
even before you send them a check.
So at that time, they were
Right,
coming
I'm
out-
not gonna send anyone a check until you guys make a motion to do that, so.
It was coming out of McPherson at that time. I don't know if they're still.
We have an office in there.
Okay,
There's an
over there,
office
yes.
here.
We did, yeah.
And we used to it was a different organization. They've changed to the Safe Hope, I think, a little over a year ago, or.
Okay, yes.
And even with the fact, now that we have that new place, what's it called down here, the store? What's it called, the store?
You're talking about the
Restoration,
restoration
yeah.
center.
There's a
Yeah.
little bit of overlay there, and I'm thinking we might want to rethink that.
Well, and the special alcohol funds are already going to FACT, but this just funds the rest, like, this is their county portion of funding for their other programs.
They have other funding besides the county funding
Yes.
on that.
Remember, she was here, she gave you all the
Yep.
financials
Yes,
where they
yes,
have all
yes.
these different
Right.
grants and
Yeah.
all these different types of programs they're administering. And under their umbrella, they do administer, they have the Substance Abuse Coalition is under them, and they administer the special alcohol funds. And that was done through a motion to vote or a resolution of the commission several years ago. But this is not just for that, this is for the organization as a whole.
But as far as the alcohol funds are concerned, I think we need to start at least considering that other place, because under statutes, being
Yeah.
that we need to probably rethink that.
Well, and since we have a substance abuse coalition, the statute says that that those expenses for that have to go through that coalition. And so I know that Carl Taylor has visited with the SEPSI group. And so I think that he's got that in motion with them, because it would need to go through them first. And then if you guys decide you want to change how we're doing that, that would take some official action, so.
Okay, so Carl has been in contact
I'm
with
sure
them?
he has, he went to
Okay.
their last meeting, so I didn't go, so I don't really know where they are with all that, but we're kind of trying to stay in communication with
Okay.
everybody in the loop there. so.
Okay.
But if you are you planning to fund Kansas Legal Service and the Food Bank, at least those two, you could, and then I don't know about FACT, if you're wanting to support that organization as a whole with that 6,000, or I don't believe they came and made a budget request last year, so.
It'd be nice if they did make a request,
Mhm.
and then we act on it.
Okay,
What-
Kansas Legal Service and Food Bank
Have been.
have been here.
The other two hasn't. Since you're making one, why don't you make both come?
Yeah.
See where we're at
Okay.
with that. And we
All right.
can discuss that. I don't know what kind of money we're talking about in the alcohol total fund
I
a
can
year.
get all that.
You know, per
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
But, take a look at that then. But I would go ahead and make a motion for legal service of 4,000 and Kansas Food Bank up here for $6,000.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Did you vote opposed or in
I was too
favor?
late.
You
Okay.
were behind?
Yeah,
All
I'm
right,
behind.
thank you.
I sat here daydreaming.
All right. And so you said Kansas Legal Services 4,000.
Yeah.
They requested 4,500, so you're gonna go back to the same
Same
amount you
thing,
did
yeah.
last year. Okay, thank you. And I believe that is really all I have on administrative for today.
And when we're talking some of these too, we've tried doing, if we, any of these services that's like the legal service that we give to, if we're gonna do anything different than what we've done before, we always try looking at all of them, just to take a look at them, see what you're doing, see where they're at, so.
So Tina, I have a question. Did we get our money from MCC yet?
Oh, yes, we did.
We did. Okay, and did we also get all the payroll records?
I do not have payroll records.
Wonder what we have to do to get those payroll records. Why are they not turning those over? Because those are all part of their documents. Why are they?
They're not open records probably if they're payroll, but, so I don't know if they have to give them to us, but, it's my understanding that a different person has that. Clint brought me everything else, so, I assume that when schedules loosen up, that we will get the rest.
But it just seems odd to me that they're turning over all the information back to the county where it belongs, and how they would even be able to retain the payroll records. I don't know that they can, but we'll see.
Okay, but to answer your question, I don't have that right
Okay,
now.
thank you. That was my question.
I may get them later.
Yep, maybe.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, I might make a short report. I did attend a SCED meeting at the end of the month and was approved to join that board. We did our county regional meeting last Monday night. Fairly good turnout. I think every county was at least represented. Of course, the big items, most of the discussion was roads. Of course, a lot of the counties have county hospitals, and so that has also turned into a fairly large discussion. And since there's been some difficulties with some, although the ones that are in our region seem to be doing pretty well. In fact, some of them are making a lot of improvements. So, and then KAC was there pushing the home rule. The legislatures would like to make that a part of the Constitution, and so KAC is supporting that, and would even like, letters from the county in support of that. They're still searching for an executive director for KAC. Right now they're in litigation with, who's the last one?
Randall Allen.
Randall Allen has sued KAC
Okay.
for termination, so that is an issue that they're dealing with right now. And they're probably going to be moving, or chance they may be moving.
Stay their way?
Just to a different building or
A
to a different community?
No, a different building.
Okay.
So they have an interim right now. So, I mean, they're still providing all the services and everything's still going on. Jay Hall, who is the attorney,
Jay Hall.
seems to be a very sharp guy, doing a good job.
Did they give you any instances on home rule, what they was specifically, what they was, or just in general?
Well, in general, KAC is, pushing, has been brought up, to try to make that as a constitutional item.
And I think it also was brought up too when we went with that House Bill 2273. That's one of the reasons why they denied that, is not because it was an invalid bill, but it was probably poorly written, I think, but I don't know. But nonetheless, I think that's why they denied it, because they wanted to give the home rule back to the counties with the decision-making as far as wind turbines.
I have a copy of the concurrent resolution that they're talking about on home rule, if you guys would like a copy of it.
I would.
And then I've got an example of a letter of support from Dickinson County. So, that'd be good. This is, right now counties do have home rule authority on certain issues, but it's by statute and it's not a part of the Constitution. So I guess if somebody in the legislature gets mad at the counties, they might be able to take that. And so I don't know if that's what's driving to make it part of the Kansas Constitution or not, because I haven't been in on the background of that, but, it would require, or any constitutional amendment change causes, it has to be a question placed on the ballot for approval of the voters. So anyhow, that's what this is.
Did we advertise in the KAC for engineering, for the engineer?
No, we can.
Okay. Do they charge?
Yes, they charge.
Okay.
It's a little bit pricey, if I remember right, and their thing comes out once a month. And
Okay. Yeah, I
so
just happened to see this one right here, this month, what they put out, and I,
we have advertised with them before for certain things, but that wasn't part of the discussion you guys had. So,
no, I was just curious, I couldn't remember if we
That's a
included that or
big chunk
not.
of their revenue.
yeah. Do you want me to get prices and look at doing that, or?
We could look at the price.
Prices would be, well, right here it says the rates are up to 75 words are $65,
Okay.
76 to 150 words are $95, and then more than 150 words is $120. So there's your prices. So,
Probably
Do
wouldn't-
they just, they come out once a month, right?
We probably wouldn't, our ad wouldn't be over 75 words.
No.
so yeah, so that would be that, well, right, and that would be $65.
That might be worth trying it.
Okay.
Had any ads in over a week or two then? Or has it been?
We have been working on, we've got them all posted
Okay.
as of last week after I got that clarification. And so far not a lot, no.
Okay.
There, I believe we got one application the first day, and it was someone that's not in the US. So,
Okay.
so I didn't set any of you up for that individual.
Okay.
So,
Is that it?
Did you check those other two websites, that I, are
We-
they too much money or what?
okay, so let me just give you an overview and an update of what we have done so far.
Okay.
So far, I did put the ad and the job description out on the that engineering website, and it went on all of them because for that $495, it's a 30-day posting, and it will show up on all of those major sites.
Good.
Okay, so that has been done. That's, we have it on Indeed, and we went ahead and sponsored it on Indeed. We have it on ZipRecruiter. Diane gave me another website the other day, which is the National Public Works Association, or it's actually, I think it's American Public Works Association. And so I have not put it out there yet. And that's what we've done so far.
And the newspapers, were we gonna put in a bunch of newspapers?
Well, you had said, you had given me a budget of $2,000 to do
Okay.
that other, and then you said not to do the newspaper right now, but since I mean, we still can do it where we can newspapers if you want to.
Okay, I just. okay,
And I haven't, because we haven't reached that budget yet, but as far as, so I think we put in, I think the ZipRecruiter was 200, so far, because that could potentially add. You don't know how much you're gonna spend until it's been out there, so that's the little bit different kind of aspect of it. The Indeed, I think we put in initial budget of 300, so that's 500, and then we did the 500 on the professional engineering. So you still have room in the budget, possibly to do the KAC and the newspapers if you wanted to, but I don't know how much that other
Okay,
public works site costs yet.
okay.
So what would you like to do? Do you want to go ahead with the newspaper?
I think using KAC and what we have, start with.
See what kind of results we get.
I
Okay.
don't think the young people I don't think they read a lot of the newspapers for jobs as much as they use social media.
Okay. And I was kind of waiting to add another site on until we kind of get at least an idea of having it out there for a week and what we're getting and from where. So that's kind of where we are.
Let us have.
Okay.
Okay. Is Jesse here?
Yeah. That's it.
would, write it so I can read it, that would be great.
Oh,
You
yeah.
didn't know there was gonna be a test, right?
Transport fuel bids.
These are all or
That's
none?
my trick pin, that's the third time that's happened.
Not much of a choice.
Nobody has any problems, I'll make a motion to accept cooperative grain for all three. Yeah, $18,979.75. That's 5,500 gallons of diesel, 1,500 gallons of diesel fuel, and 1,500 gallons of unleaded gas.
I'll second that.
Okay, moving second to approve the cooperative grain bid. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Tire bids. We sent out 4 bids, got only 2 back. The 2 is from, one of them's from Rod's Tire out of Hillsboro. The other one is Commercial Tire Centers out of Salina. Commercial Tire Centers out of Salina sent us 2 of them. With different brands of tires. And that one is,
But that will be added into a total bid?
no, the 2 staple pieces you have in your hand are 2 different bids. The last page is highlighted with the total number. At the top of each page, you'll see what tires we accept and what brands of tires we accept and what, Commercial Tires has, and both of them are incomplete bids. They're not putting any tractor tires on, and they're also using
Okay, that one
different.
is the highlighted one, the highlighted part, that's
Yeah.
44.
That's Rod's.
Okay, that's
46.
This one's Rod's.
Yeah. Last one was.
Okay.
What, did you correct some of the addition or something?
Yeah, they have the math all wrong on that.
So we're looking at total bid from Commercial Tire of 46,508.90, Rod 44,224.69. And they both meet all your specs.
The Rods does, it meets all the specs.
Okay, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve Rod's Tire bid for Road and Bridge at 44,224.69.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oops.
Do you 3 have anything for me?
Just, you're officially off Friday.
Yes.
I put on there a personnel interim superintendent for that, and you've mentioned Tom.
Yes.
I don't know how the commission feels, but, we're, I don't know, getting into personnel a little bit, but, I would think we need to set a pay scale or something for, for stepping up. I don't know. We have done that once before on some of this, when we did it, I don't know, it's been 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I don't know how long it's been. But, I sort of think that needs to be accomplished by us, maybe, if Jesse has anything to add to that, I don't know. But,
So I would like to, before we go with Tom, if you don't mind, I'm looking at the job descriptions, and the way the job descriptions are written, to take out of context and just put the mechanic in the supervisor's position, I think is wrong. You have other people within Road and Bridge more qualified for that position, and under equal opportunity laws, I think we would be wise to maybe follow a little bit more into that regard.
I think maybe then, if you're gonna talk about that, and individual's job performances, you
Okay.
should probably do that in executive session.
Well, I wasn't talking about his performance, I was talking about the laws and the job descriptions.
Right, but if you're gonna get
qualifications.
into a specific
Okay,
person that's working for us right now, or their name, or anything like that, or their,
Okay.
what they're doing, and their
Okay.
qualifications, I think that
okay.
maybe talk about that in executive, and then, if you, because I think that'd be real easy to get
Well,
into something.
it could
that-
be, because
yeah.
like I say, I have all those job descriptions we're going into a pay plan. And that also sets standards for how people promote and get merit and go up the ladder and so on. So I think we need to start abiding by some of that. So I don't mind going into executive if we have to.
Okay, why don't we,
Is Brad gonna be here? He had said to me
I
he was
don't know.
going to, and I had
I
asked.
can
that
see
he-
if I have heard from him. I'm sorry, you asked what?
Well, I
didn't mean to-
had texted him and asked him, well, this was last week, if he was gonna be here, because I think discussing some laws and stuff, he should be here. It says that he would be here, but, actually, I really think that we probably need him here to discuss this, since it does have some legal implications to it, but, maybe we
would
could
you have
postpone it for
time
later.
later?
That's fine.
Well,
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I guess we can move it back down then to 11 o'clock or something like that. Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.
And then if Isaac is here yet then or not. Probably not.
Good morning.
Good
Just
morning.
in time. How are you?
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss, interim road and bridge superintendent, number 2, number 1, personnel matters and non-elected personnel with, Jesse, Tina and Brad and the commission for 15 minutes until 9:45, and we will. Item on the agenda is park and lake. Isaac?
All right. Thank you, Jesse.
Morning, Isaac. Morning. Morning. What you got for us, Isaac?
So I'm just here to finish up what we started here 2 weeks ago about the brochure. I talked to Clinton Jeffries about the inspections, the way they've done it in town for the side-by-side ATVs. He mentioned to me the number one thing that they're looking for is insurance. They have to have a copy of the insurance. If it's, he said for the most of the, the side-by-side, the ATVs, they don't need them. But if the vehicle cannot go the speed limit, it has to have a slow-moving sign attached to it. And then the other thing was just lights and blinkers if they're running past sundown, rear view mirror, and seatbelt. Those are the main things that they look for in their inspection. I believe the city, he was telling me it's $40 for 1 year, or they can do a 2-year for $70. And then they just have, and he said he was going to email this over to me. It's just a sheet that says that pretty much they agree with all the rules and regulations. Then they sign it and they put that on record to file. And that's their method to getting your sticker for the side-by-sides. If we wanted to do it, what I was thinking is something just like our boat permit sticker, except instead of boat permit, it's a vehicle permit. They could come out. I talked to Clinton. He said he'd be willing to work with us if we would rather them do the inspections. But he said that as far as it's like a 10-15 minute process, just walking around the vehicle, getting the right paperwork, I would be willing to do it if it's something that we'd want to keep out at the lake, or we can have them do it. He
good idea, and I think it'd be best just to go ahead and mirror whatever Marion.
And that's kind of what I was thinking as well. And like I mentioned, my idea was keep it saying that we do our boat permits, it would be open to Marion County residents and homeowners out there at the lake.
Even if they're, well, they own trailer houses on the lake.
Yes.
Yeah, so they still have a homeowner, yeah. Okay.
And you'd be allowed on the inside, but have to stay on or next to the road, just to kind of keep them off the grass and all that, from causing ruts and everything. Was what we were looking at.
So, a 12-year-old can drive that?
No,
No.
has to have a valid driver's license and has to be shown when the permit is given. Yes. And I know last time we spoke, you asked the question, let's say that there is somebody that looks underage driving. I would not be able to pull them over and ask. What Clinton suggested is if that ever happens, just to call in and say that suspected underage driver, and they'd come out and check it out. But the way it is now, I would not be able to pull them over and ask. I did ask him about that.
Should we check with our sheriff and make sure he's fine with it?
I can do that.
And I think that if you're gonna allow that, we had talked that you probably need a resolution
Yeah.
to include those as approved vehicles.
And we go ahead and draft a resolution. Do that, right?
Okay.
Okay, and then we'll approve it, and I'll get that.
And then my other question, and I brought this up a while back during one of my monthly updates, and it's been brought back up to my attention here, was we mentioned it would have been last fall, I had a gentleman that was asking me about dock liability. Let's say they have their dock on the lake and somebody were to be on their dock and get injured or hurt. Because the way it states is the dock owners have to have their docks open to the public. And his concern was, well, if somebody were to go down on his dock and happen to get injured, whether it's falling down the stairs or whatever, would that be our responsibility, or would that then be his responsibility because it's his dock? And that was where the issue came up. He did put a sign up on his dock that says not open to public access, and he said that he wanted to know what the rule was on that before he took that sign down. And I told him I would try to get him some clarification because I was not sure.
Mr. Counsel?
Are these docks attached to private property or public right-of-way area?
It is public.
Yes.
So we are the ones responsible. Okay, and that's what he was hoping to hear. He just wasn't sure.
If it's, typically, if that dock is erected by an individual, so it's private property in that regard, and it's attached to private property in some fashion, then we'll go the other direction.
Okay.
But if we're mandating that it has to be available to the public and it's on public right-of-way or easement or whatever we want to call that, we're going to be,
Okay.
I think we pretty much 90% of the time we're going to find that's us. There are some instances where how we constructed it and some things that are contributory, but that gets into a completely different realm.
Okay.
Just go ahead with that though, because here's the mandated inspection.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, there should be a standard in terms
Yes.
of how those things are done, and I assume we have some.
We
knowledge
do,
of that.
and it's written in here. And there's
And we compel them to meet that standard. Yeah,
Yes.
it's really going to be us, because
Yes.
at that point, we've taken a lot of control.
Okay.
there, So, yeah.
Okay. And that was the last, that's all I have. They did start the water line project for that campground last Monday. They're out there now. They said probably 30 days of work, weather permitting. They did start, and then we had that rain, and it turned everything to mud. But they are back out there working. So hopefully within the next month that will be finished.
Are the brochures been reprinted?
They have not.
Okay.
They have not. I've talked to Baker Bros. They were in the past. They've all been done by Marion County Record. They were designed and printed there at least the last 2 times that I know. There was just, that ATV was really the big change I had. The only other were a couple of outdated phone numbers, and then the fishing creel and length limits. We were gonna update those because, almost all of them besides 2 species have changed since they were last done in 2011. And then we were just gonna update some of the front that we have the airplane runway and the disc golf course. And that was kinda all we were looking at. The ATV thing was really the only big rule change. Besides that, it was just a couple of updates.
And I guess I want to clarify on that if I can.
Yes.
ATVs or UTVs or both?
So I think what I'm thinking of is a UTV.
Yeah, because if it's a side-by-side, we're gonna be dealing with a UTV. ATVs are gonna be straddles.
Yes.
And I
So it
assume
would be
that's
the,
not what we want.
no,
Yeah, I
it
was
would be
thinking
the
that was
They don't
UTV.
have seat belt or anything.
Yes, yes,
Too many places that can get used.
yes.
So,
And that's, sorry, yeah, UTV is what we're looking at. And that was kind of as far, that was all I wanted to go with it. Because right now it states no 3 or 4 wheel ATVs
yeah, that's good.
or electric scooters or anything like that are allowed on the inside. So, golf carts are not. There was that. They're allowed on the outside right now with a slow moving sign and proof of handicap from the state of Kansas. All has to be presented to us, and they can get a yearly permit to drive around the outside of Lakeshore Drive. That was the last update that they did. And I don't know if you want to.
Have we charged a fee on those?
There is a fee on that. Yeah, I think it's, I need to double check. I believe it's $20 a year, if they have that.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter, I just, I wanted
Okay.
to know if we were charging a fee.
Yes, we are.
Would you rather see the golf carts on the inside roads than run around the blacktop?
That's what I was wondering too, if we wanted to include those.
I think there's something to look at. I think probably everyone out there has a golf cart, but I don't know for a fact. I'm just saying that.
Inside roads, you mean the gravel roads?
The gravel roads, instead of running around on the, on the blacktop where traffic runs 25, 30 miles an hour.
Is there quite a few that use Lakeshore with a golf cart?
Right now, there's 2 that have been in and got their permit since I've been here. One of them doesn't really go far from their house there. They will cruise around every once in a while. The other one will do laps. It's not your typical golf cart. It is a little bigger tires. It goes faster. He does
I
have
was gonna say, if you're gonna allow the UTVs, you might have to let the golf carts. I think.
Most of the time, they're one and the same. I mean, they're both.
Yeah.
One of the ones out there.
Okay.
There used to be golf carts that were allowed and UTVs weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too.
I think due to the times, I think we need to change probably.
How far we've come.
Okay, you have enough direction?
I do. That works for me. I'll talk to Robert and see if he has any suggestions on it, and anything to keep an eye out for. And then I will get with that dock owner that we are going to be responsible. And I think that's all he was wanting to know at the time, because he just had that question on liability. And so I think that'll take care of that, and that'll work for me.
We should probably check our rider, whether that's something Tina would do, or somehow make sure on those docks that we have
Okay.
an adequate amount of coverage on that.
Okay.
If it can happen, it would be good to know that that's covered.
Okay.
We've got a
Can I
resident.
ask a question, just for clarification? I'm very interested in this same topic because I just bought a boat dock out there with our house. And my insurance company has asked this question, and there's numerous other residents that have the same question. Now, I assume I can use the minutes. My insurance company actually asked if there's anything in writing about this, so I assume I can use the minutes from this meeting for that.
If they'll accept them.
Okay.
And if they won't, let me know. Because then we can go ahead and do a resolution that attaches to that, so that would be the formalized document if needed, because I've been through that before.
Okay.
Some of them are just fine with that, others are like, oh no, I want something more formal.
Do you think it'd be wise to go ahead and do a resolution?
Well, it might be, since we're at this anyway, just so that we confirm that that's the liability we anticipate
I know
taking on.
it's been out that way forever out there. Of course, back then it was word of mouth.
It takes care of the homeowner's
Maybe it
concern.
would be best if we went ahead and passed a
Okay.
resolution.
I'll just draw one for that also.
Can I ask a question?
So, I ask a question. Why can they not put, like, not responsible for accidents on those things too?
That very well could be.
Because, I mean, a lot of other places do it, and they put it on a lot of things, not responsible for accidents.
Is that even,
You
we see
can,
those
but
signs,
you know what, I've never found that to be dispositive when it
Okay.
comes down to it. So I usually just start from the worst case scenario that we're gonna have coverage on this.
I just was curious.
There's too many of them people around.
Yeah. One more question or kind of an issue that I've heard from numerous people. It hasn't affected me yet. But there seems to be some confusion or disappointment about what constitutes use. You know, there's people that tie their boats to their boat dock overnight and they come back and somebody's not only on their dock, they're sitting in their boat fishing. So, and I don't know that we want to go that route, and I've talked about this with Isaac, but just so everybody's aware of it. You know, what constitutes use of my dock? Because if I'm using my dock, then the public's not supposed to use it. And you have the flip side, there's people that tie their boats up there all summer, you know, so that's not really fair either, but I think it's something to be aware of, and I've kind of talked, I don't have a boat, so I'm not that concerned
So
about it, but
maybe-
numerous other people have.
Should be more like a temporary use than a permanent
Yeah.
use, because if you're tying your
Right.
boat up for a 24-hour period,
Yeah, and I can see it overnight, you know, I'd be upset I'd be really upset if someone was sitting in my boat, but I guess it happens on a regular basis.
yeah, I hadn't heard that, but I guess it could.
Yeah,
I don't know how you would tie that into the resolution, though.
I think that one through, that's a good point. I just didn't anticipate anybody ever do that.
well,
Once
And
in
then
those-
what type of,
I've owned my dock just a very short period of time, and I've experienced a couple of things that I would never imagine people would do
Yeah,
either. But
that's
they're-
amazing to me.
then you have to come up with appropriate enforcement action.
Well, I think that's the main thing, and that's what I've talked with Isaac, is that people need to communicate with him so that there can be some enforcement, and once that word gets around, whether you prosecute somebody for trespassing, or they're just told they can't ever use this dock, you know, whatever that may be, but,
And the ability to post it, you know, some
Well,
kind of
yeah.
signage too.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Kinds of things that
Yeah,
pop up.
that's a new one.
I have a different question.
Yeah,
It's the damage that was done on Lake Shore, assumingly by a farmer or somebody that was going through there,
Yes.
on using that, taking their, what, I don't know what it was, stock trailer, loaded
Yes.
hay trailer or something like that.
Yes.
Did you get that fixed and taken care of?
I did. So that is the only access to the field, and they had been using it for a long time.
Oh, I see.
And kind of,
Is that Corey Nelson, or is it the wrong person? Do you know?
I believe it's Somerville.
Okay.
And it's just kind of what
It's
one.
easy access.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And it's just right there on the east side of the dam. And kind of the only problem was, one, it was kind of it looked a lot worse than it had in the past because the ground had been so wet.
I see.
And it was just a wide entry point into the field, and they had a trailer on,
Okay.
and it just caused a bunch of ruts. And I did speak with them, just to kind of see if they could try to avoid it as much as possible. And he said, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I was just kind
And
of
since
curious.
then, it hasn't gotten any worse. It was wet, and they had been driving. It's a road entry where they're coming in, and so when they're sweeping around, it just created a bunch of ruts there.
Okay.
Before they turned into their field. And we did speak about it, but it is the only entrance to the field there, Diane.
Okay. That's why I was just wondering.
They need to be grandfathered in.
Yeah, I just seen the big potholes and stuff, and had
Yeah.
people call me about them and
Yeah.
stuff, and I haven't been out to see.
Yeah, and that's what it is. If you do want to see, I can show you exactly where it's at.
And there's been patching done out there.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Isaac.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you guys.
Hey, Travis?
Good morning.
Good morning. February report, we had 143 ambulance calls, 28 of those being transfers, so 115 911 calls on a short month. We were pretty busy. It's 30 more than last month, so
So business is picking up,
I
huh?
guess, yeah. So staying steady there. So yeah, not a good thing, I guess. Just a couple other things that we've been working on. We've got our service permit with the state, as well as our ground ambulance permits renewed for the year. We got our medical protocols updated, made some changes there, and approved by Medical Society and our medical director both. We are waiting the annual inspection of the vehicles, of what we carry on our ambulance and that kind of thing. So last year they did it in August. Really, we have 2 days notice before they come do it. So it's kind of hard to tell when exactly that will happen. So, we're still communicating with Omni on the process of transferring billing back. Looks like that will happen, I'm thinking around mid-May. A little cloudy on exactly how it's gonna work, but again, we're in contact. We're gonna get it brought back one way or another. So we got our copier in, installed, up and running. Everything's working good there. Currently, I have A3, the backup ambulance that was in Marion. It's being staffed some of the time by Hillsborough volunteers as a BLS transfer unit, as well as a backup if A5 is out. I know we had talked about prior to my arrival, bringing A7 back on board to staff that in Hillsborough, keep our backup here. At this time, I'm kind of putting that on hold. I would like to see how A3 is going to work in that capacity before I spend a lot of money. I think I just want some proof that it's going to work before I spend that kind of money. I think April will have a pretty good idea. We started last week, so I don't really have a good idea for the month of March how that's going to work. But I think by the end of April I could report back where we're headed with that. I think at a minimum it's a good thing that it's over there and it's being staffed some of the time. If it doesn't warrant bringing another ambulance up, I think it would still serve its purpose. And in the event we needed the backup, if one of the other units went down, we would simply use that one. So, and I've worked with the Hillsborough volunteers. They're pretty well aware of that situation. I think it's gonna work fine. So, with that, I have another unit sitting out back. I don't know. There was some talk that Road and Bridge may want it. That's not the case. I did check with them. They're not interested. I don't know if we use Purple Wave, how we get rid of these items, but I guess I need your approval to do away with it, or what we need to do.
What's your recommendation?
I think it'd make some community a good ambulance. It's an older unit, but we don't have use for it. So I think Purple Wave's probably the easiest way to get rid of it.
I'm sure we used that before.
Right. So there's some stuff, I think it's being used as a storage facility right now in the backyard of my station here in Marion. So we'll need to get through it, and maybe there's some other items. And I don't know, Tina, do you try and do several at a time, multiple items through the county? Or?
We don't have that much come up usually, so it's almost always just been single thing at a time. But we can sure send an email out to different departments and see if they have anything.
Okay, because I think I have some desk units, stuff like that didn't work out there that nobody else has a use for. I would think we could approach you and let you know what all we have, and maybe we can get rid of.
Maybe it's time for the board to consider getting rid of that old Crown Vic also.
Get rid of what?
Getting rid of the Crown Vic.
Oh.
The one with no paint on it?
Yes.
There's a possibility we put a couple items on it.
Okay. So yeah, I think maybe we can work through that yet this month and see where we're at. The only other thing, and I kind of spoke to the commission about, was I'm working with Mr. Ham on The air compressor that I have is more than I would ever need in an EMS station. Jesse could use it with Road and Bridge at Peabody Shop. And I would like to build a closet, if you will, for supplies out at the Marion Station. So basically doing a little horse trading with Road and Bridge, and I think it's financially sound to do that. So just kind of giving you a heads up, that's my intention. So your blessing.
Sounds good.
So, okay. And I think that's all I have.
You have something, John?
Unit, I know you talked about a good ambulance. I just want to make sure Gossel didn't get forgotten.
Right. I've actually spoke with Gossel, first responders. They are not sure where the idea of them getting an ambulance came from. They don't feel they could staff an ambulance and don't want an ambulance. So,
Comes from some of their constituents in the area.
okay.
So,
Yeah, and if I
I
had
just
people,
want to make sure it was before.
absolutely, and depending on what happens with Hillsborough, I may still have that A7 that I did get mechanical inspection on. It would be the better of the two, I guess. So yeah, there's still an option there, but as far as staffing for it, I don't have the people to staff an ambulance in Gossel at this time, so. But, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Travis.
All right.
I have one issue.
You have something?
Yeah. Been another incident reported to me with one of our ambulances, and I've told that person to come directly to you. And how about by the end of the month, if they don't come to you, we go out and talk to them then.
Okay,
And it's just an issue with an ambulance that happens, so.
okay,
Well, if they don't, I give them a chance to come directly talk to you so that I'm not in the middle of it. But I think it needs to be addressed.
Okay.
And if they don't come forward in 12 days or so, by the end of the month, then we'll go, I'll give you their name.
I was gonna say, it's a little vague, so if you can
Yeah.
touch base with me, I'm certainly willing to look into it.
Well, let's let them come
Okay.
forward. I mean, they thought it was worth a while to talk about to me, so I said, I advise take it directly to the administrator and see exactly what can be done to work together. And if they don't come forward, then we'll go address that.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay, commission discussion, and then interview research.
Okay, so I put that on the agenda because it was interesting to me. This is so interesting. I got a copy of the paper here for each of you. This is the messenger, the rural messenger. And if you look at the very front page, there's a story on there about Sumner County approves a wind farm agreement, and its Wild Plains Wind will pay $1 million a year in lieu of taxes. So I read the article, and as I'm reading it and stuff, it's like, wow, you know, $1 million a year. Reading the article, that is Tradewind, Diamond Vista. Now, Diamond Vista is paying Sumner County $1 million a year in lieu of taxes. And what did Marion County get besides screw?
They do change their name.
Well, the Diamond Vista is the, Tradewind is the parent company.
Trade winds.
Yes, is the parent company, that's right. The same way up here, you know, now it's a mill, and I understand it's gonna soon be something else, I don't know what, but anyway, it's interesting to me, and I did get a copy of it. I did contact Sumner County, and I got a copy of their road maintenance agreement with their, payment in lieu of taxes and things like that. And so, of course, as everybody knows, we're getting like $200,000 a year. And out of that, they're going to take $100,000 a year away from us for our road for Kirk and Michael. So it just really rubbed me raw. Something is wrong with our payment in lieu of taxes, the way it's addressed. If they can get $1 million, we should be able to get a whole lot more than $100,000 a year. Or even $200,000 a year. I don't know if we have to hire a committee to work these things out, to do these negotiations, or what it is. But as a county, this, when I read this in the paper, it just really took me off, really.
Does their road maintenance agreement show on the bill?
I have their road maintenance agreement, and it's deep, just like ours is, but you know, it's all the things that they will pay and all the things. I got their decommissioning, and here is their road maintenance agreement. And again, it's just like all of them.
But I mean, the dollar amount of the agreement,
Well, there is no dollar amount of the agreement, it's just what they will do to maintain their roads and stuff.
right, but I mean, we kinda knew what our road maintenance agreement was gonna cost. Our engineer was gonna.
Well, our engineer,
Right.
yes, and so did Tradewin. They knew what it was gonna
Right.
cost too.
So I guess, I just wonder what their engineering cost would be in comparison to what we paid.
So I did
That
not,
won't, yeah, that won't say anything in there,
well,
I mean, dollar wise.
yeah, ours is in there, about ours, well,
Right, I'm talking about the engineering cost for the,
for theirs,
For their-
what
yeah.
theirs is. I did not read the whole thing, because it's just a road maintenance agreement, but I know that they're not gonna take the road maintenance, they're not gonna take whatever third party they have away from them. Because I asked that question, and they said no. So, the reason I didn't bring it up is somehow, we need to rethink things a little differently or do something. And if I remember, even when, Diamond Vista came in, I remember I got all the pilot agreements and decommissioning and road maintenance agreements from Ford County and Kingman County and Clark County and 2 or 3 other counties, and I was trying to compare them to make sure that we had a fair, but then of course the commission was never involved in the negotiations, so we didn't get to really utilize a lot of that information, but it's just something that I wanted to bring to the commission's attention, that, in negotiating these type of things, we need to be a lot smarter. We need to be a lot smarter than what we are, because our county is paying big price if we don't get on this board and on this bandwagon.
Did you get paid 14?
Um,
Continue on paying 14, right?
Oh, I think you probably have paid 15, don't you?
you don't have it.
Oh, here, you can have mine, I got it.
Okay, I got you. Okay. I just wondered what all this said.
Okay.
Breaks down.
So, that's what I wanted to talk about on that. When I seen that, I thought, whoa, and especially when I seen that it was Tradewin, it really struck a chord with me. And, so the only other thing that I would say is I've been getting quite a bit of emails and phone calls and stuff from both sides of Expedition, the pros and the cons, the fors and the against, and, I do respond to everybody, pros and cons. They ask me questions, I answer their questions, and, or sometimes if I don't have an answer, I just thank them for their, comment. I am keeping a tally, so I just want the people to know that I am paying attention and stuff, so, I think you guys are getting all the
Yep, I'm getting all the emails.
all the emails and stuff too, and responding to them. I spent a lot of time this weekend. Some of them had lots of questions and things like that, and I do take the time to answer the questions to the best of my knowledge and the best of my ability.
I know there's been a lot of legal type questions. I don't know if they're getting referred to you, Brad, or not.
And actually, Brad, the general public cannot just come to you for legal advice, am I right? That would be a wrong thing.
Has to come through you guys.
Yeah.
But I know there is a lot of legal questions out there, and we're not attorneys.
I didn't see any legal questions. Maybe you got some that I didn't. But anyway, I didn't get any legal questions I know of.
I know, I've been trying to wade through, the binder that was presented last week, and of course, there's an awful lot of mathematical equations, and, you can address that path too. Some of that's pretty detailed. I guess that would be the word, but one common thread that I kind of picked up was a lot of the research seems to be based on setbacks of a half mile. I found that in several areas of research that they were based on half-mile setbacks.
Mile and a half or half mile?
Half-mile setback. And of course, we know what our zoning has in it. And so, I don't know if there's any research out there with quarter-mile setbacks.
Yeah, respond. First of all, could I get the county that's good information, would like to run that down?
Sumner. You're Sumner. Actually, I could give you information from about 7 counties. I have all of their information if you
I'll
want
take
that.
what you get, that would be great, I appreciate that.
Okay. I can surely provide that to you.
Okay. First of all, the planning standards are generally built around a quarter mile up to about 1,500 feet in most of the states that have established planning standards. There are some non-participating up to a half mile, and you're right, we've seen some of that too. You know, let me say that we're paying attention, and you know, we want to have a draft to you next week for you to take a look at. We think it'd be different, and substantially different, and more positive from a setback standpoint for the landowners. We're still studying it right now. We're doing the same thing that you are, trying to look at, you know, other standards and how far people have gone, and especially what's happening in Kansas, because I think that's a good guideline for you as well. So we expect we'll have, and the other frustration we get with is whenever you see a noise standard, that's generally on the closest establishment. You get a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, you can't hear anything.
So that should be the standard density setback.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There's no, well, you know, if you live in a house and a car goes by, do you hear something? You bet, you know.
Car's not there, right?
But not all the time.
All night long.
Yeah, we don't
Not
live in
all
the
night
city.
long.
And neither does the service. And
Car doesn't run but a couple,
let us,
seconds.
let us come back to you, I think, with some standards that, I think will make some sense. I think a lot of people that are concerned, might get their concerns mitigated substantially in some of the recommendations that we're making.
I got a question, Pat.
Yeah.
How many houses do you normally have around your windmills, within a mile, or even anywhere? If you put up 100 windmills, how many farms or houses are around it?
There's not a standard that we can.
What I'd like to know, because I know how many there are in this county.
We're
Lot
looking
one,
at,
you talk anywhere, and you go to Oklahoma, anywhere else, there's lucky to be 2 or 3 houses around within 2 miles. I've been there this weekend. I know what it looks like.
okay.
You went to Oklahoma?
We're mapping every house in the area inside the footprint and around, and we'll have all of that data.
Have you contacted all of those houses? All the residents within the proposed footprint?
I think they've everybody in the footprint has been contacted, certainly.
We haven't been I haven't been contacted. I'm not even in a CUP, and my property borders on 2 sides with CUP properties. You have never come to me for any kind of a participation agreement. You have never contacted me about anything. You have never knocked on my door, made any contact. The only contact I got from you was an agent authorization form where you were wanting me to give up my rights to speak.
No, it wasn't your rights to speak.
You were wanting me to sign away my right to speak on my behalf. You were wanting me to sign letting you speak for a CUP hearing and for other things. That's the only paperwork I've ever seen from you.
Can I clarify what an agent authorization form is?
I have it.
Yeah, what it does is it provides us the ability to negotiate a contract.
So why would you want that from me when you have it so much as knocked on my door and even let me know you're in town?
Quite sure that's the case.
Half the people in here didn't know it, so I knocked on their door a month ago.
Is this what you are calling your participation agreement? You are
No,
calling,
that's an agent
no,
authorization.
this is a community development consent agreement. Is this what you are calling participation agreements from people?
No, we've got a much more.
I haven't ever seen a participation agreement, and I'm bordered 2 sides.
I'll make sure you see it by tomorrow morning. Okay?
Okay, I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, she's not the only one. I have not seen a participation agreement, have seen the consent form. Sheila texted me, I did not receive an agent authorization form.
Okay?
And you have my address wrong.
That might
You
be
sent
part
it
of
to
the problem.
the wrong way.
That might be part of the problem.
But I have
Apologize.
received 3 pieces of paper. We received the invitation to the meeting on the 6th,
Okay?
2 days late because it was wrong. We received a postcard saying, thanks for coming to the meeting on the 6th.
Did
That
you call
following
our
Friday.
office and change the address? You know, yeah, we may have made a mistake on the address, and we apologize, and that might be a good reason that you haven't gotten information. But I think most of the time we've got our phone number, and I know I've left plenty of my cards around. Call me direct. To be honest, there's a couple hundred people that we're dealing with. we'd love to address it with you, but we need you to cooperate with us. And if there's a mistake like that, we don't know it's a mistake until you tell us.
If it wasn't for my neighbors getting this information, I wouldn't have known anything.
Okay, well,
We have 5 acres, so we've been overlooked the entire time.
I'd love to solve that, but I need your name and address, and we'll take care of that.
Well, you didn't have anything signed with us, so you got our name and address either from the county, who would have the information correct.
Okay, and somehow it got to you incorrectly, and once it got on that list that way, it probably stayed that way, and I apologize. But the best way to fix that is if you call us.
It's just one of those things where there's this little mistake, and there's that little mistake, and there's that little mistake, and they're just compiling and compiling and compiling. And not just with us, but I mean with the entire situation.
Yeah, I've heard of 2 today, but for this one, I'd love to find out what they all are. In fact, I'll sit out here for you guys if you've got questions, if you've got addresses that people haven't been contacted. Sit down with me. I'd love to get them all written down, and I'll make sure that, and it may not be tomorrow, but in the next 3 or 4 days, we'll give you a call, and we'll be out here next week to meet with all of you. There are people we haven't. Well then, can you give me your contact information, so
You have it.
next time? No, I'll be out here. If anybody's got a similar problem, I'm happy to make sure that we can get the corrected address and get people in contact with you. You know, unfortunately, that stuff does happen.
What's the actual, are you getting close to the vicinity of numbers that you're thinking of actual stands, tires for this project?
Actual towers,
Yeah, is it 90 some or
it's probably 80 towers.
80 tires? I just see here, this one's 97 or 98, I think the one up north is 97.
I think that's right, yeah.
Something like that. I'm just wondering, is there some sort of break or something that happens, whether you go under or go over? Is there a range that you're looking at that happens here? Because this project's 90, just one tire off, different from that tire.
We really sized the project based upon the generation interconnection agreement, and this was filed 6 years ago at 200 megawatts. So, and I think Tradewind was at 300 megawatts. So,
Okay. Randy?
Yeah. Well, I just have some information here that probably pertains to some of the stuff that you've been asking about. Well, I have an affidavit of interest where it shows that Rex is still involved in the project. I mean, I just know that's something everybody was asking about. Anyway, there that is. The other thing I have here, and I don't understand this completely. I kind of have a feeling in the next 30 to 60 days after this is all over, I'll probably almost be able to become a lawyer because I'm slowly learning this stuff. It's just some of the stuff I don't 100% understand. But what I have here is an affidavit of interest, and I think this is what 2 or 3 other people have been talking about, where Rex, I believe, to get the first CUP, just went and got a county map and just started writing legal descriptions. He did down and then recorded them, which really is bad if that's what he actually did. I haven't had a chance to go across the street to look to see if any of my legal descriptions are on here. I hope that that, I just hope that none of my legal descriptions are on here, because I know I didn't sign anything, and if I sign some, I won't be real happy. I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense to you. Probably the only way it does is if we go across the street, to start,
This was an affidavit of equitable interest to Winborn, right? The way I read it.
Yeah, that's just putting public on notice that he was hanging on to just a handful
Leases.
of the leases. He wasn't letting them all go. I presume if you'd look, that's probably where he wanted to put the transmission line, I presume, because he probably figured he could get a whole bunch more. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that puts his notary highly in question, and it also kind of brings to light, the character of everybody when you've asked them over and over, well, is Rex still involved? And they keep saying no. I mean, no, he doesn't own the company, but he's still partially involved in it. That's what I've been trying to say.
Didn't you say, Pat, that you purchased all of Winborn's assets?
We didn't purchase all of Winborn's assets, and we are only developing those assets that we purchased. So if Rex continues to own some Winborn assets and he chooses to do something with those down the road, that's his choice. We are only active with assets that we acquired directly from him, and those included leases that are tied to the CUPs, and we've done extensive due diligence against that prior to acquiring.
So would the transmission lines be part of the CUP though? If he was holding those for transmission?
But that still shows interest. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I'm really not sure what all it shows, except that it does show some interest. That's really all I know. It, like I say, probably each week I'm going to figure more and more stuff out, by talking to different people. But it just seems to me, you guys, with all the problems this project has, it seems like every meeting we have, it's about, somewhere around 2/3 of the people against it, 1/3 for it, maybe 75 against, 1/4 for it. It just always seems like the overwhelming majority aren't for it anyway. And with all the holes we have, I think you're doing both the wind energy company and yourselves and the community. I think you're doing everybody a disservice by dragging this thing out. I mean, the one up north, I didn't know much about it, so I only came to maybe 2 or 3 of those meetings, and I think I spoke at one of them just a wee little bit. And it seemed like that project, it seemed like maybe 75–80% for the project, and only a handful against it. But now I'm getting phone calls from the people by Durham that apparently you have your county commission apparently you have your county commission meetings that you have filmed, and other people are seeing them, and people from up north are getting a hold of me and saying, hey, we want to know what we can do because we have the wind turbines and we're unhappy. So what can we do? Because we're really unhappy. I'm just thinking, all the problems this is creating, I just think we're doing everybody a disservice here. and it's only for a small amount of dollars. What did we figure, like, between $500,000 and $600,000 a year after the first, after the first year? I mean, yeah, the first year it's 2 times that amount, but, you know, I can still see Charlie's son, who is a really smart engineer. You know, he'd move back into this community. You know, I could really foresee him in the next 5 years or something like that, starting up his own company here, which could bring in a bunch of jobs, because he's a pretty smart individual. But I'm saying we're starting to get people like that back into the county anyway. You know, he's not the only one. There's several others that could really benefit this area. And I'm wondering, bringing wind towers in, you know, especially with the controversy that you're bringing along with it, if that could really hurt. And that's just what I'm thinking. I just think we need to look and say, hey, you know, the one up north, it was a trial deal. We thought it was a good deal, and there's not as many people over there, and it's kind of a so-so deal, and maybe not even a so-so deal. Do we really want one over here? I mean, it almost seems like a no. It seems like a no-brainer, and we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You know, it seems to me like I think we need to think about it.
Thank you, Randy.
I had a question in regards to the footprint. What do you guys consider the footprint of your lease? Does it go a quarter mile beyond the farthest tower, or does it stop at the property edge of the last tower?
It's usually defined by the standards that the county sets up. So that's exactly what we're working on.
So what, to the commissioners, what is the footprint then? How far does that extend past the last tower?
I've not seen any maps. I don't know what
Well, the footprint goes all the way to what?
Yeah, we
West
have,
of Kansas.
I think he's talking about very specifically as it relates to a tower, and there are standards.
Well,
for
you
each
have
tower.
a circle of your whole farm. So
Right.
what would be, how do you figure the outside of that circle? And so is it a mile past the last tower?
2 ways. I mean, just in fairness. Number one, we looked originally at where we would like to go. We sensed the lack of enthusiasm the further we go west. We appreciate that. We're trying to find some ways to accommodate that and actually pull, quote unquote, our footprint back. When we finally get done with the CUP will have certain setbacks into it that will tell exactly how we need to react with property owners on the edge of our footprint.
My concern is for the property owners that are on the other side of that line, are they just shucks out of luck then if they have to look at them and don't get any compensation for that? Or do you have a second area past that footprint that you'll compensate landowners or anything like that?
Well, I think we have offered that, and we originally talked about an annual compensation for smaller landowners at $1,200 an acre. We've offered now to increase that to $2,000 an acre. In fairness, we need some kind of agreement with those people, and we're happy anybody that's within any of the radiuses or the setbacks as established by the county, we're happy to provide an agreement to that effect.
So if the county changes their footprint, zoning and planning setbacks, are you willing to offer those substantially larger payments to landowners that are 2 miles from your footprint at $2,000 an acre?
That would be be quite a change from where they are today, and we're anticipating some changes. So for me to just say that we'll go, offer everybody X up to 2 miles is pure speculation. I mean,
So there is no answer to that then? I mean, you don't know what you would provide for those landowners?
If the project is viable with a 2-mile radius, most wind projects haven't proven that. And if it's viable, we'll make that offer. The difference that you have between, a half a mile and 2 miles is an incredible amount of reduction in any kind of impact, other than visual. And I understand the biggest problem that we've got is that most of the people in this room are going to see wind turbines. And if you haven't seen them before, they are substantial. But when you get 2 miles away, they are much less impactful to you. And there's a number of studies where people that you come back a year later, gee, they just went through construction, we lost a lot of crops, and got issues with roads being reconstructed. Come back 5 years later, the level of satisfaction of people in and around that area, understanding the economic value that has flown through, is usually very high. In fact, there's an Iowa study that comes back, it's over 90%. I think it's 92%.
Would be Marion County, what the satisfaction would be a year after.
Mrs. Yoder was next.
Okay, my name is Becky Yoder, and my husband and I live in East Branch, and I brought Riker, who's my grandson. He is the 6th generation Yoder on our farm. I'm here by trade, by education. I'm a biologist, and I've spent 25 years as a wellness center director trying to keep people healthy, keeping our kids, our family healthy. I'm here because of the health effects that it's going to have on this next generation. And you guys, the county commissioners, you guys have a big decision to make. Randy, I've known your kids, and do you know, this is what you need to think about. Alexa, Randy's granddaughter is in Riker's preschool class. Her name is Alexa Dutton. She lives a couple miles from us, and we see her every day, and she is one of Riker's best friends. She rides the bus. I substitute teach there. We need to think about that next generation. Riker's also a 7th generation Kansan, so you got to really think about that. There aren't very many 7th generation Kansans, but he is. This is what you guys need to really think about. We're going to be gone, and these guys are going to be around. And you know what? I agree with Randy. I'm on the Peabody Community Foundation board. And if you know about your community foundations, we do everything for your communities. We're kind of a quiet group. All these communities have it. I went to the national, I've been on for a little over a year now. I went to the national conference, which was held in Wichita. And I went to a rural economic development conference. And the speaker was from Wisconsin. And you know what he said? Everybody thinks everybody's moving away from the rural. They're not. He gave us all these stats. People are coming back. They want that small town. They may not work in the town. And example, our youngest son, who's Jacob Yoder, and his wife Riley, I was so shocked when they wanted to come back. They went to Fort Hays. Jacob's an engineer. He said, you know what? They're getting married. We want to come back and live on the farm. I was shocked. And you know what? Now they have a business in Hillsboro. They have the core gym, and it is going gangbusters. So you can't say these young people aren't coming back, but we've got to give them the incentives to come back, and the health. I mean, people want to, they want to come back, and we want to keep this is a beautiful county. It is. It is a beautiful county, and there is a place for wind turbines. I agree with that. But we're in places that aren't as popular. I mean, there's people all over this county. So that's all I have to say. And then and then just a little FYI, if you guys want some good read, I've been researching this. If you go to Better Plan Wisconsin, has anybody been to that website? Oh my gosh. It's got, they actually, my husband and I we were dairy farmers for quite a number of years. They interviewed a dairyman, and his herd average went from 30,000 pounds to 20,000, and it was all from stray voltage. He had a multimeter in his barn. I mean, I'm real big into the grounding and all that, and just the low frequency vibrations, the cows would not lay down. And he had all these deaths from the cows. He had the agricultural college come in, did autopsies on all of them, and they had organ damage, and they would only lay down 2 hours a day because of all that low frequency vibrations and the stray voltage. So, thank you very much. You guys have a hard decision to make.
I'm losing sleep over it too, just like those cats.
Oh, I'll bet. I mean,
Glenn, did you have one?
Oh, I have lots of things to say, but yeah, just in commenting what she said, people that want to come back to this county, they're trying to leave the industrialization of cities so that they can enjoy the pristine country life that we have out here. They're not looking to come from the cities and live out here so they can see all kind of industry and things they have to drive around and have as obstacles for them. My other comment was I was glad to see that they had moved that boundary, that footprint from Kansas to Mustang. Mustang goes right past my dad's property, and he and I both have property on both sides there. Originally, it was Pawnee, which is the only road. At that point, it didn't concern me as much because they don't have much near the topsoil over there in those hilly areas. A lot of grazing going on. It looks more appropriate over there. If I lived in the middle of it, I might still be opposed to it, but from where I live and where I farm, that's not a big issue. But I was not aware at all in the last 10 years that it was going to move west of Pawnee. And all of a sudden, I get neighbors coming to me and saying, da-da-da-da, do you know what's right next to your dad's property there? That was a complete surprise. Yeah. Clarence Business, he called me this morning at 7:30. He says, I've got all kind of ground here in Marion County. And he says, I haven't learned about this thing for the last couple of weeks. I didn't know anything about it. And he's just completely ignorant. He just lives just a little bit south of Highway 50. That's close to Peabody. He and his boys are large landowners and farmers, and they've been to these meetings in the last couple of weeks. And he's very concerned. And again, like Randy, they're big operators, and a lot is at stake here. And he's talking about the aesthetics. He's talking about the obstruction and the things that we enjoy out here in the country. We have to give real concern to this before we sell out. As he said, and as I said too, if you know the story in the Old Testament of selling your birthright for a pot of porridge, you better enjoy porridge and you better have a big pot, because we are selling out big time for an immediate gratification of some money in the bank. And it's going to cost us in the long run. We've got all kinds of articles. These things are coming on our email daily of the opposition and of the research that's been done in disfavor, in opposition to someone that's out there in a different state that doesn't live in a wind farm. He doesn't have to look at him. He doesn't have to listen to him. And they're out here to promote their agenda, and we're the ones that have to decide this. And it's a very serious concern for us folks.
I'll take one more comment. We have an agenda item at 11 o'clock. Charlie?
I'd like to make a comment.
Just talking about Rex not being part of it. Well, Jesse told me the other day when the lawyer was here out in the hall that Rex still has part ownership of everybody's contract. He's got every landowner out there, he's got that much of it. He does not own the business, but Jesse even told me that, right in front of their lawyer that one day. What do you feel about that? Just what Randy's reading on the contract on that. He still has that. According to my understanding, because Jesse told me that. Because he admitted it here, he said no. He went out in the hallway and said yes.
Yeah, Brian.
I take exception to the way this has been put on the agenda. This is just open public comment. It's put on the agenda as research. I came here expecting to hear some concrete facts and figures about what this commission had studied or that somebody else had studied. I've heard none of that. This is an open comment about opinion, and that's fine. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody's entitled to state that. That's what we had last Monday. If that's what you wanted, it should have gone on the agenda as exactly that, so everybody in the community could have walked in and heard this. This is An ambush is what this is.
First off, I would tell you, I put it on the agenda to give what I found right there in connection with Tradewind, okay?
Okay?
So don't say that I planned this out, or this is planned out like this to have it be like this, because I did put it on for my research, because I am doing the research.
But it got
Okay?
opened up.
So
but it
I'm
got
sorry
opened
that
up.
people are having,
It still
if
got opened
that
up to
offends you,
public
that
comment.
people have their comments.
It doesn't offend me.
Well, I'm just saying.
Everybody's entitled to their comment, and,
Okay.
and rightfully so ought to be able to voice them.
Mm-hmm.
It's that everybody in the community ought to be aware that that's gonna happen.
And the meetings are open. You know, anybody can come anytime. Nobody's stopping anybody from coming to any meeting, ever. And that's also why they're taped, so that people can also see what happens for those who work and can't come.
Mr. Chairman, could I make one final comment?
Okay.
And I only suggest this, I came here to listen. That was my primary purpose. I didn't understand that this was gonna be a forum for people to provide additional comments, such as what we had last Monday. I think the discussion and the concern that people have, we're working hard to address those issues. And are we gonna make everybody 100% happy? Absolutely not. It just, in this kind of situation, you don't do this. But what you need to move to is something that is good for the people that ultimately end up with the turbines on their project, those people in the immediate area, and then the good of the county. You know, as you sift through all of the information that you see out there, and there's tons of information, most of it is very favorable in terms of what wind energy has done for the counties. I mean, if we're talking about a couple $100,000 a year that go to the school districts, is that 4 teachers that you don't have today? You know, I don't know. My point though, and let me finish with this and then I will be quiet. We're going to have that plan for you in another week. And we will bring that in and I think it will start to answer some of the questions. And then at least we can have a discussion about somebody thinks they're in the middle of the footprint, they may not be anymore. You know, what is the layout? Who are the people that are benefiting, that have leases? Who are the people that are in the immediate area? And then at least we're having, I think, a straightforward discussion about what the project looks like. And then we'll get, you know, firm numbers in terms of what the value that ultimately flows through. I've heard a lot of people talk about, well, I think this guy's coming back. This guy's gonna move here, and he's gonna hire some jobs. As I look at your history, it doesn't look like there's been a lot of job creation in the last 10 years. And just from a pure job standpoint, we're gonna have 4 to 6 jobs. But it's much more than that. If you look at the money that flows through to the landowners, and most of those live on the land, despite what you've heard. These are your neighbors. That's money that's worth probably 15 to 25 jobs. And when was the last time that a new company came into town that built 15 to 20 jobs? The school districts are unfortunately some of the lowest per capita in the state. And this is an opportunity that they can increase their revenue. Now let's, and I promised I'd shut up and I will shut up. But my only point is, let's get a plan on the table. And if we want to talk about the plan and how that looks, that's a much more coherent conversation than, gee, I didn't get the notice last week, and I'll be out here. I'd love to solve all those problems. But yeah, let's move forward and have something that you can sink your teeth into evaluate.
I think that presumes different bases. You're presuming that Marion County would like to be a Wichita with the economic flow. And I don't think that we've chosen to live here for Marion County to look like any other county. We like it the way it is here. We have great success economically. That is proof. You're trying to make Marion County into something it's not meant to be. So it presumes different baselines. And I think, again, like we said Monday, your argument and your proposal is primarily based on a financial proposal, not on some of the other elements. We have other articles that say, contrary to what you are claiming economically, and there's some other people that are doing some work to prove economically the depreciation of things in comparison to the money that's coming in might not compare effectively. So you can bring the proposal, which I'm sure you will, but I'm not sure those numbers will jive up.
I look forward to that conversation. I think that's the conversation to have, is let's look at what's going forward, and then we can evaluate it, I think, more effectively.
Okay, go ahead, Rick.
I think the whole issue here is wind farms. And I don't really appreciate we're trying to hang somebody, whether he's still involved or not involved. What about if any one of these people in here, any one of you, went and made your own living, made your own money, made your own thing, however you did it? I don't care. But it sure seems like a persecution of somebody that's, whether you think he's a hard-working person or not a hard-working person. He's went out and put these forms together, he signed these. Now, I don't like it that those people back there, the 5-acre people, because that might be my kind of people, that wasn't contacted. If they wasn't contacted or the wrong address, I don't know what happened. But let's keep this discussion to wind farms, the good and the bad of the wind farms. Let's cut this out about trying to hang somebody. I don't understand that. I mean, because any one of you sitting in here has made a living on something. I'm not involved. I'm not going to get paid by any of these things. You saw that last week. I don't care. But there's good business people sitting right in here. And you all made your money a different way. Now, if the wind farms is not good for us, then it's not good for us. But let's stick to that. You know, it seems like a persecution of somebody, and I don't agree with that. So thank you.
I'd like to get a definition clarification. What is a wind easement?
Wind easement is the right to actually ultimately put turbines on someone's property.
So it's just on someone's property. Okay. What is pooling in the wind industry?
Well, it means a number of different things, but if you're talking about our project, what we do that is a little more straightforward, I think, is we take all of the acres, and whether you have a turbine on that property or not, your acres count towards funding that's dedicated for those acres.
So with the wind easement and the pooling, would then any wind going across somebody, a non-participating property, would that not be something you would need to lease from that non-participation person? Because it is an easement?
There's no legal precedent for that, but what we do is offer the participation agreement. And I've told you that we get to an agreement with the county on what the wind farm is. Everybody that's inside that footprint, if they're not on a wind easement, we will offer that participation agreement.
Okay.
And I've even toyed with the idea that the problem that you end up with a legal idea is maybe we should just make those payments to those people anyway, right?
Right, because it's their airspace that you're taking.
Right, I have no problem with
They
that.
own that airspace.
If we can find a legal way to do that, we have to.
Okay, folks, we do appreciate your comments. We realize as a commission that when we're discussing this type of item, we can't close it off to the public. We can't close off public comment. But we still, in the end, we're gonna have to make a determination one way or another. And that's gonna take a lot of facts, a lot of research, a lot of help. And so, you know, we're gonna have to move on it at some point. And so, like I said, we appreciate you all coming in. You all have good opinions, solid opinions, and we appreciate that. So, again, thank you. So.
And may I say something to legal counsel quickly on this? So I wanted to ask you about this. As a commission, we cannot talk privately. okay? I can't contact any of these commissioners being right here, okay? And I do a lot of research, just like a lot of other people are doing, both pro and con, okay? In fact, this is my bag right here of all my research that I'm doing in places and people that I'm contacting for information. So when I find information that I think is important for the commission, this is where I have to bring it. And I know for a fact when I tried to get it on the agenda this particular week, just as commission discussion, so that I could bring forth what I brought out right there on the pilot agreement, okay? It had to go on the agenda. And just the clerk wanted to make sure that I was doing it just right so that we don't have whatever, I don't know what, but she said, well, with the wind towers, you gotta be very careful how you put it on the agenda. But that's my only way to bring it out here to the commission. What else am I supposed to do? And I personally welcome all the comments. I have no problem with it. I'm not saying I want a public forum every week, but it doesn't upset me that people want to come, pro or con.
No.
But how else can I bring out information? I will tell you, last year or the year before, we got this document from Lisa Reeder, our appraiser, and I dug it out because it has some valuable statistics in here from Kansas Department of Revenue. And so I'm going to be going out to the peak of this week talking to a couple people about updates, if they have the updates on the tax revenues and things. And I will probably want to talk to that about the commission, my findings. So am I going to be put through the ringer again about getting it on the agenda, or, I mean, how do we do this?
Well, the way that you did it this time is appropriate in terms of putting it on the agenda. At least that way the public as well as everyone is on notice of what's there. But the parameters of that discussion topic have to be fairly clear. And I appreciate, heck, I own ground in this county too, and I understand fully the concerns. But if it morphs into this type of a public discussion, either we need to anticipate that and have a separate topic for that again, and just know that, okay, we're going to have people want to come and speak to any of those issues, or you don't. It's one or the other, basically, because we went far afield of what I understood this topic to be today, and we did because people are here and you're going forward with it. But there's still a notice issue. You know, if whether it's the newspaper or it's other people who go, oh, I didn't know they were going to allow that much open topic discussion on this. The minute they did that, I would have been there. So I feel like I was misinformed based on what's on your agenda. So it cuts both ways. You want to give everyone the opportunity to speak, and I have no issue with that at all. But if we're going to do that, then we either need to anticipate that each and every time with a public forum element to those kinds of discussions, or let people know that there really isn't going to be open discussion over what we come up with today, but we will, as the public calls for it, probably, have those types of meetings as we did previously, where you're going to allow a significant amount of time for people to come in and comment on all those sorts of.
So is that what you're suggesting? Because, I mean, Mr. Pelstrin was here, and he was given the opportunity to speak his side, which is great. And the same way I think is fair for the other people as well. So how do you?
I mean, we can't put it on the agenda and say this is a research time for the commission, because it has to be public.
Well, it is public, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to field public comment. So you can
So
keep
then
it.
you would limit your discussion to the items of research that have been found and
And that's-
sharing it with the board.
But then,
Right.
don't we still have to
No.
allow the public to
No.
speak?
No. Once you open it up, then yes, I think you need to go ahead and allow, a fair and equitable opportunity for people to speak pro and con and in whatever way they want. But you do not have to open it up at that particular point in time. Clearly, you want to hear what everyone has to say. It's a matter of how you conduct your meeting and how effectively you're going to get through your normal agenda. And then if you, like I said, if you want to include, we're going to also include a half an hour as far as that will go, with 5-minute limitations on each speaker, for people to comment on what we've just discussed in terms of this research. You can do that, but that then anticipates it, it puts it on your agenda. Your press, your public, everyone knows that there it is. But if you do it the way this was listed, it can be limited to, okay, I'm going to hand out this information. Now that's public. It's an open record that any of these folks can go get anytime they want and take a look at. And then they can ask for an opportunity to be heard at a later date if they wish. Or you can have another one of those concerted kinds of public forum sessions where we're going to allow a couple of hours. That may very well be the sort of thing that happens in this kind of an instance with this type of topic. We've been through that before, where that goes on and on and on, but it's all in how you want to list it and what you want to do. But in answer to your question, no. If the way that's listed, do you have to allow any public comment? No.
Well, it's kind of a new animal to all of us, and we're all on a learning curve.
Sure.
And, you know, guess when we are gonna have to become more specific on what we're gonna do, because, you know, you've got folks that wanna come.
Yep.
And they wanna speak.
Don't blame any one of them that wants to either, I understand that fully, it's just a matter of that we do it in a way that everyone has noticed that that's going to occur, or no, it isn't. Okay.
So putting it on the bottom of the agenda for open session and public comment, they could bring, even if it was on the agenda as it was, and I presented what I wanted to present, and then we moved on to the next agenda item, any one of these people, Mr. Pelfrey or anybody that's here, could at public comment then do the same thing.
They
Am I
can,
right?
yeah, it's just that when it's a topic like this, most everyone in here, I assume, would want to hear what everyone else has to say, because they may have thoughts about it, they may learn something they don't know otherwise. So if you just do it as public comment, kind of like public forum, you just have no notice. Again, you can do it, and the answer to your question is yes. But I prefer when it's on a specific topic like that, and you know these people have a distinct interest, that it be a specified item.
So you would prefer that, if we have a lot of these kind of research topics or whatever that the commission is discussing, that the public comments on those would potentially be at another meeting where a notice is given?
Yes, so that everyone can come and hear everything at the same time and
So
know that that's
for
going to be
instance, a public
discussed.
forum.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, if you have a public comment time at the end of the meeting, and you've already gone through some research, aren't we gonna still morph into the same type of discussion?
You can. It's just, again, it's at that point, when you ask for public comment, you know, you can sit, that can be anything, and anyone comes in and does it. Now, at that point, you may follow it up, just in terms of practicality, and we're gonna really need to go ahead. This is gonna be an expanded discussion. There's a lot here that we don't have the time for today, and you'll set a specific agenda item at a later date for 2 hours or whatever it is that you feel is appropriate in a given circumstance. Special meeting, whatever.
Or you could just limit them to 2 minutes
Yep.
at a time.
Yeah.
And one time or something like that, so that if they have something that was brought
That
up.
they wanna follow up, or they have some
Yeah.
additional information they'd like you to know, yeah, sure.
And so therefore it would be,
Yeah, I'm just trying to let everyone know what you're doing in these meetings in the interest of transparency. That's what we're supposed to be here for. And so if we're going to have those discussions, everyone should be able to get a copy of that agenda if they wish, and know, okay, they're gonna talk about that today, I'm gonna make sure I'm there. As opposed to, you know what they did, it went and expanded into a lengthy discussion about this, and there was a lot said. Luckily, we have it all, so someone can go look it up, but that's not the same as being there at the time where they may well have wanted to have input or say something.
I'm almost certain, and I may be wrong, but I'm almost certain, whether it's on the agenda or not, you're gonna have the same every meeting from now until then, because, you know, we are learning things
Yeah.
both ways, each and every week. You know, people are, it's a very passionate topic.
Yep.
So I don't know that we're gonna
And I mean,
achieve what you're saying.
Can you, when you get in this kind of session, you say, okay, we're gonna allow 5 comments that are 2 minutes long, or anybody can comment?
Yeah, that's the problem. If you start to just let it gradually progress to that, now suddenly you've got this open-ended freewheeling thing and you have no way to control. We have to leave at noon, but we're gonna be here till 3.
Yeah,
You know,
and I'm guessing that's what we're gonna be dealing with.
So like with this one today, if the information was shared and you stopped right there, that's what I would have anticipated based upon how it was written. If we're going to allow the additional discussion, it really needs to state that.
So I
Discussion
stopped
from
when
the
I was
public.
gonna give my information out.
But I understand.
Okay, we're all learning.
Yeah.
Everybody's learning.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can put on there, right on the commission discussion only right after that. Just put it right on there, that's what we need.
All right, okay. Is Jesse here?
Yeah, he was in there.
Okay.
So you start reading it?
Oh, we'll wait a minute. Anybody wants to add to it?
Hi.
I didn't say anything, but I am.
Sign your name up.
Yeah, I did. And I am for it, even though I didn't say anything.
You missed your golden opportunity.
I really did, yeah, but I'm not really a public speaker.
Thank you. Cool. And I didn't get your name?
Joel.
Joel.
Sure.
Oh, you'll see. I got your letter.
Good, I'm glad you did.
Yep,
I don't know.
that you
Pretty
replied.
much basically the same thing everybody did.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, those papers I gave you, I
Thank
was
you.
wondering if I could have
It's
them.
been
Those are
40
I was gonna make copies, but my copy machine went
Are
haywire
you
this
making the
week.
copies now? Okay, she's
Oh,
making the
yeah.
copies now, so
It's
just hang
creeping up
on,
on 'em.
and then you'll get them back, okay? You don't mind
very
that
different
I have a
color
copy
than
of
what
the,
it was.
That's,
No, it'd
that's
be
exactly
wonderful.
right.
Okay,
That's exactly
yeah, I
right.
asked her.
And
Okay, folks, we need to
both
move on.
Randy and
Yes,
Kevin
ma'am.
have one?
Yeah, so just hang on and she'll give you yours back. Thank you.
Okay,
I did speak with Jason, and he'd be willing to help out as well.
okay, all right. So then we need to move on to,
Was he kidding?
Well, he just kind of wanted to know what it all consisted of. I kind of reviewed that with him over the phone about what all three of you had said, and he felt comfortable enough with it to go ahead and decide he'd help Tom out. Officially.
They're making copies of those.
Thank you.
okay, we're waiting on.
Yeah.
He wants his back. Those papers that were, he wants his back.
Do we need to recess for 5 minutes?
Or you can just wait.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. We're acting on the interim road and bridge superintendent to be filling in for Jesse while he's on leave. And, we have some information in front of us as far as, compensation.
You want to go back in for a minute before, or to talk about it, or?
What do you think? Do we need to?
I have nothing. I'm sorry?
Certainly can. And it's-
It's okay with me, it makes no never mind either way, to me.
Yeah, I have no problem either way. We're talking about, the way it looks here, we're not mentioning names or anything like that. We're looking at, this is if you're talking about what she's presented here, pay grade, looks like it's just a simple process here of what we could possibly do or not do. And then I think the only other question that I will ask is, we have one that's gonna be more signs things and does that, the other one will be helping out in the field. Now, is there any difference between that to where this changes? I'm trying to see whether there's any difference between that. We're doing two, not one. This one's doing one.
Well, we're basically giving more responsibility to 2 people.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm just asking whether there's gonna be any
Greater responsibility for
on the
one
top,
person.
yeah. As a interim supervisor and assistant supervisor.
Well, one is covering one area and one's covering the umbrella.
Okay. Yeah.
So to me, there is a little bit more responsibility. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I agree.
And so we see here what we can do as far as compensation. At a minimum, anyway.
So at a minimum, 3%, and at least 10%, is that what you're saying? Do I read that top part up there?
No.
Top part,
It's
that's
just
that's
the
that
middle
motion.
where I
At least
highlighted.
10%
Okay,
while in that position.
okay, so
See,
I'll
the
consider
thing that I was just gonna mention is, if they're both stepping up to, based on our current pay plan, it would be a 2 pay band jump for either one, if they were actually serving in that actual position.
Right.
And so, based on what they are now, if you look just at the 10%, and that's something, I mean, if you guys wanna discuss all of that and go through those details, I mean, we can definitely do that. I would just feel a little more comfortable talking about some of
Those
this
things in an
closed
executive,
and then coming back out, and then you guys can.
Okay. I'll make a move, we recess into executive session in order to discuss interim road bridge supervisor position or positions. Item number 1, personnel matters of non-elected personnel person pursuant to KSA 75-4319B with the commission, Brad and Tina and Jesse.
They'll break it no matter what.
So much beauty in here.
Okay. 25 seconds.
How much? 5 seconds?
No, 25.
No.
Oh, you're still in,
Yeah, for 15 more seconds.
okay.
We're just not talking.
I'm just gonna.
We're
it'll
quiet.
just- Yeah, I'll be sitting there.
That's fine.
Who was that, Yoder that gave us the turbines from Wisconsin?
Yes. Okay, out of executive session, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to appoint Tom Holland as interim road and bridge superintendent and Jason Creven as assistant road and bridge superintendent to perform those duties starting this Friday until those duties are no longer needed.
I'll second.
Moved and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a second motion that we set the compensation for Tom Holland as road and bridge supervisor at $19.82. And Jason Creven is $16.33.
That's the,
Plus,
plus the.
Plus his, did you?
Increase of
Sorry,
Seven-
it was
17.
17.
2180 and 1796.
So it'd
There
be
you
a
go.
10% increase on top
Oh,
of
yeah.
that, 2180 and 1796.
21, yeah, at 2180, a 10% increase from where they're at, 2180. And for Tom, 1796 for Jason.
Second.
Second by Randy, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you,
Yes.
appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll keep it up for.
Thank you.
Okay, any public comments?
They're all out there.
They have an opportunity to come back in.
He's got one. Yeah, right there. Look at the team, Jeff.
I just want to reiterate one other thing. I would just want to be clear, so we can still discuss this. I can still bring issues up as I learn them, but, or should I just keep it to myself?
No,
I'm
you
not
can
really
bring
what.
it. Matter of fact, it's best that as a panel, you all have all that information, so
Okay,
you're
so
all
when we-
informed.
So the way we put it on the agenda is correct?
Yeah, yeah, it's just a matter of us making it clear to the public so they don't come in and go, well, shoot, you won't even let us speak.
Okay.
That's not the case, it's when and how we've advertised it so that everyone, you know, not just people who are here, but anyone else who really wants to know what's going on is following it, knows with enough specificity what's being discussed and when someone will have an opportunity to speak to anybody.
Diane, I was in before it was determined it was there, but I would just assume you'd said, present more information to commission only. Well, I mean,
Okay.
that's what you want to do. I have no problem with that. I looked at it, didn't know.
Well,
what
some
it
way
was.
to make it clear to the public
Yeah.
what actually is happening.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I'm sorry, when I say commission discussion, that's always my intent,
Yeah,
commission
see,
discussion.
and that was so broad that we did work on trying to narrow it down to get a specific
Yeah,
topic because of all the interest.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a matter of really, that's probably gonna fall to you as far as being the chairman of
Yes.
saying that at this time, this is for us to receive information, we'll review it, and then if we wanna set a meeting to do the public comment, or, however that happens.
Like I said, this is a new animal.
it is. Yeah, well, and it doesn't matter what it is. I've wrestled with that in any number of other settings, whether it's a volatile issue or not. There's not a requirement that there be even a public forum or a public comment section per se, but most do it for obvious reasons. But it's your meeting, and in order to do the meeting of the county, you have to be able to, in an orderly way, administer that.
You always want to be fair.
Yep.
And
And that's why I keep stressing too, I don't have any issue with the public being allowed to give you information, because they're the constituents, they put you here.
Right.
So that element of it needs to be addressed in some fashion. It's just doing it in a way that everybody knows that that's when it's gonna happen and what it's gonna be about.
Okay.
I'd like to address Roxbury Road, west of K-15. I don't really understand why that company has not had to come back and fill those cracks. There's more every day, and they haven't done anything. And so all those cracks are getting bigger.
What road's north-south there at that intersection that first started? Which road? I was there.
Well, it was Eagle or, was it Eagle?
Is it Diamond?
Eagle.
West of
Eagle.
Diamond?
Eagle.
Oh, west of Eagle.
Well, they're west, Yeah, there's some starting,
Diamond is the one Lehigh straight
Right,
to the
right.
Dickinson
Yeah,
County line.
yeah.
there's
Yeah,
some
there's
just
some
west of Falcon too, I think. Well, yeah, and
Same side, or is it different sides?
both sides.
Both sides.
Yeah, and there's a bridge there by that pond, and
Yeah.
then there's some in the middle of it. And so, somebody needs to address that, and they need to be filled, because when, the more water that gets in them, the bigger
We also
problem we're gonna
those
have.
Shoulders caving.
Oh, yeah, the
That's
shoulder's
another
caving in,
location.
it's
Well, I guess
so
really
thin.
gotten bad
We
the
need to
last few
direct
months.
Jesse to give them a call this week and see when they're gonna be out there.
Yeah, they've done absolutely nothing, and that road's just getting worse
Make
and
a
worse
note
every.
And that
Have
bad
Jesse
spot,
call Burton County.
yeah, that bad spot originally was at Eagle and through.
Yeah,
First one.
and,
First one.
yeah, but then there's some more have opened up in that area too.
He gets a lot of heavy traffic.
Well, I saw a semi coming down it
Yep.
past me the other day. There's no reason for semis to be there.
I followed
That bridge
2 of
says
them.
11 tons.
Yeah, we got semis crossing lots of bridges that are
Mhm.
all the way.
Yeah. I was glad I was behind him.
If
Until
this
they get
company don't
ticketed.
fix those cracks, then, and it's not the right time of the year to be doing it according to their
They're doing it
specs.
on 330th though.
Are they cracks?
Yeah, yeah, they're filling those cracks from Highway 15 east to, I think,
That's-
Limestone.
Yeah.
See, that, isn't that Circle K? That's, you guys approved that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
that was-
yes,
So
okay.
that
you're
was a
talking
different
about,
issue.
I think that, where we left this issue was with Darren.
Correct,
He was
correct.
supposed to be following
Correct.
up, so
Right.
do we need to get a hold of him?
Correct.
I
No,
think so, because
No, he's gonna they're gonna tear that out.
that's
what
some,
they told us.
that's some base issues,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just crack seal.
They're gonna
Yeah.
tear that out, and the
But
reason
they
why they're
still
waiting
need
until
filled
summer
now.
is for warmer weather to
Okay.
fit that. But what I'm talking, addressing her issues of more cracks down the road, I think I would like to hire that company to come over and do something if there's just cracks, or I don't know what they are. What
Some
I'm
of them
saying.
are about like that.
Really?
Yeah,
Are they
more than an
going
inch
across
wide.
the road, or are they
Oh,
running?
Up, they're running
With
with
the
it.
road.
Mhm.
Well, then that's base.
To me, there's more
That's
base
base.
issues like we
That's
had.
base also.
Okay.
Yep.
So we probably need to have
Yeah.
Darren and Jesse involved in
Darren
the
Yes.
needs,
conversation.
yeah, Darren and Jesse get involved with that,
Okay.
especially this week. since
They're just
that's
getting
not
worse and
legal.
worse.
And catch Tom up on it too.
Mm.
Okay.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
still can't find
Sure.
good help in it.
Well, and it's, the semis are cheating. They're coming across there because
Well,
it's a
and
lot
they're always
easier.
going to.
Yeah, and then they cut over to 15
If
or
they
to
get
the
ticketed
interstate.
for using those little bridges or
right.
something.
Especially when
It
they found
stopped.
out there was a good road there.
Yeah,
So how do you, you can't stop that.
we can do some regulation of it, but it's gonna be by weight.
You can't
trouble
put
is
no
that most
trucks
of the
over a
farmers have a
certain weight
semi.
on that
Yes.
road.
Well,
we
that's
can.
true.
See, that
And they
would,
overload.
should
And the
eliminate
stock
it.
trailers too, yes, I agree.
Yeah, big goose
Do
egg.
you,
Yeah.
do you have any more copies of this? since
Yeah,
you-
they ought to
We
be
might
able
be
to
able to
put
stop
signage
it.
that says
The
it's
newspaper.
nothing
Farmers
over
have
a
that one,
certain
too.
weight.
And I know 3 or
Look and
4
see
of
if
those
it has
guys I
that
follow
page
back and
that
forth.
he
I
has.
was the
I think
farmers
it does.
weekend.
Yep.
They're using some massive
Yeah.
units going
He's
across.
down west there where the mud is on the road.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Diane,
Yes.
what we've got the problem of down south is the rock quarries at Florence.
Mhm.
J.L. Unruh has a shop 8 miles south of Marion County, or south of Peabody. And his trucks go to Florence Rock Quarry. They come to the Potter's Corner at the south edge of Peabody, go 1 mile west, east, and then 1 mile north, they're back on 50. That is where we have all the problems when we redid the road on Old Mills, the county line to Peabody. It just, the right side went down first, because that's where they're coming with the load. Going empty, it stayed for a while, but of course a number of trucks then, and we've got some other trucks, not just them. But there's a lot of rock trucks from JL over my south road, and that's where the weight side goes first, and you can see that.
They tear those shoulders out.
Yeah,
You're gonna
yeah,
have to
and then it
do-
starts
you have to
falling,
do
that's-
something.
And what can you do?
Yeah.
And all we can do, I guess, I'd have to look at that and see, if there's some weight limitations we can put on post that. Then you gotta have somebody
Yeah,
out
then
there patrolling.
the enforcement's always, like, who's gonna enforce this?
Who's gonna sit out there 24 hours a day?
I'm not sure if our sheriff even have scales.
They did have, but.
They can weigh at the co-op.
Yeah. And then,
You'd wanna run them up on the scales.
And then
Might
we-
break the scales.
then we need to get back to the Nighthawk issue too at some time. I mean, whether we take and get a smaller, a different perspective, because that was everything included. And I think we need to get back to a smaller perspective maybe and see what we can do.
X amount per year. Are you talking about?
Well, maybe that, or just instead of doing everything with a contractor, maybe some of the culverts we put in, some of that
Right,
stuff.
yeah.
I don't know, just,
That's gonna be an expensive project.
yeah, yes.
But it's getting worse and worse,
Yeah.
as all of them seem to show right now.
Yeah, yeah, they're all showing up right now. It's true. My driveway even, it held up to just this last.
Okay, any more comments? Jonah?
I'll always like to see concrete, but I know that's expensive.
That would be nice.
Okay,
But concrete's a 40-year and asphalt's a 20. So,
all right,
Make a motion to adjourn?
okay,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.